Thank you very much for the kind welcome to stage. So then allow me to start engineering character. Imagine this. You're a 7-year-old young boy playing soccer with your friends in the dusty streets of Katutura, Kwisebmund, Oshakati, or maybe Okahao. And as you pick up the ball that you made yesterday from old plastic bags of bread, getting ready to go and argue for that score or else take your ball home with you, you raise your head, and right there, you see the most beautiful car you've ever seen. It's red, it's a sports car, it's gleaming, it's shining. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And it stops, and out of it comes this eloquent man dressed eloquently, looking like something you've never seen before. Now, in the head of every young man, the thought that comes is, one day I want to be like this guy. And this is a true story, by the way. This is the story of Vusi Tembekwayo, who stood on this exact stage a few years ago. If you read his memo of Vusi, the story is actually there. But then the plot twist then becomes that later on he found that this man was the most notorious criminal known in his neighborhood. The most popular, known for murders, whatever that criminals do. Now the question then becomes, how many young men are growing up with the idea of this flashy, flamboyant man as their role model? How many young men grow up with that idea of a man as what a man should be? But an even bigger question should be, how many young men grow up with the idea of that man as a role model because they have nobody else to look up to? Because they have no other male role model or figure in their life that they can look up to. And you might be wondering why these are important questions, because this is probably a very simple question. It's an important question, well, firstly, because if you're like me and you use your two-wheel drives to get you to places every time, you're probably going to use a cab at some point. And there's a very high probability that the driver of your cab is male. You're probably sitting next to a male right now. If you are, then you should listen properly. And you probably have cousins, nephews, uncles. If by any chance you relate to a man in any way, this is your cue to listen. Another also important reason, which should be the most important, is that 53% of Namibian children under 2 years of age are raised only by their mothers. 53% means for every 10 people in this room, the probability that 5 of them were raised only by their mothers is very high. In Namibia, 75,000 children are born every year, and that's an estimate. If this statistic is correct, it means that 37,000 children and change are raised with absent fathers. And this statistic is so important because how then can a man be if he does not know how to? If nobody shows him how to be, how then can he become? And this is also amplified by Frederick Douglass' quote, which says that it is easier to build strong boys than to repair broken men. My argument here today is that Namibia is raising broken men. There is an emptiness beyond what we see, beyond the 53%. And this emptiness is a vacuum. That's why this is called Adam in 3D, because Adam is the only man ever to have no men above him who he can look up to. And right now, my proposition is that Namibia is raising Adams. So, well, there's a 53% that doesn't have a male model. How are we going to solve this? How are we going to stop manufacturing Adams year after year, day after day? Are we going to stop the factory? Well, firstly, I have a solution for you, but let me tell you what the solution is definitely not. I've shared some very heavy data. So right now there's a light humor moment. So please breathe, just go. The solution is not this. It's obviously not guavas, right? It's obviously not. But if guavas had something, if guavas were a celebrity, they would be the Beyonce of it. They would win a Grammy every year because there's one thing that they do very well. And do you know it? Guavas are very popular for causing the most gut-wrenching constipation ever. Guavas will give you the time of your life. And constipation is an important word to what we are saying right now. Because how many of us have heard the phrase, boys can cry, boys should cry, boys could cry? Well, whilst that statement is effective, I also pose to say that it has not been as effective as we hoped it would be. Don't get me wrong, yes, boys should cry. But that statement, if that's going to be how we're going to attack this vacuum, if we're going to fill it in with that, then we have a long journey to go. And we are not being effective. Because what then happens is, when you say boys can cry, you're giving boys the chance to be vulnerable without giving them the tools to be vulnerable. Hence, we are constantly feeding, but they cannot excrete the emotions that we expect, hence emotional constipation. It then becomes a sort of forced vulnerability. It's like we're constantly feeding them guavas. Now, this is what the solution is not. Forced vulnerability. And I actually have data to also prove this. Because for a boy to cry, as we've heard popularly, boys must cry, Brown in 2012 shows us that vulnerability is actually a currency. And it's a very good thing that the Bank of Namibia recently introduced the new banknotes, because we know what a currency is. We're excited about them, right? And the basic understanding of a currency is that for me to give you some, you must also give me something in return. We're trading. Hence, vulnerability is not one-sided. This then means that for me to give vulnerability, I must also be able to receive it. And for that to happen, I must be able to trust you, right? And for trust to happen, for me to be able to trust you, I must be able to know how to handle that relationship. Because before you know it, the moment trust is in the equation, it's now a relationship. It's a friendship, it's anything that it could be, but it's a relationship. And for me to know how to handle a relationship, for me to have the economics to handle a relationship, I should have seen it somewhere. Somebody should have modeled it for me. This is also by Bandura and Bolbai. It's a research from 1977 and 1969. So this research has existed over time. Now imagine you are here. I would assume you have questions that you're asking yourself. This is also proven by research. So everything that I'm talking about has happened over time. And these are symptoms of a full-blown identity crisis. And an identity crisis is a state where you question everything about yourself. Who am I? What am I? Why am I? How am I? So, because I'm an engineer by profession, as said, I thought I would use a principle from our industry to try and understand the problem better. And the process that I used is called reverse engineering. So it's this beautiful concept where you go to a solution and you work back towards the problem for you to understand the problem better so that next time it comes up, you know what it is. So I went to a website called Boys to Men. And it's this beautiful mentorship program where they mentor boys. It's one of the most effective. It's in Cape Town, South Africa. And I read through the testimonials because that's the solution They're giving a testimony about how they conquered, so that we work back to try and find what questions did these boys have about themselves. What is the identity crisis that they were facing? And here we have it. Everything that is in yellow is a keyword or key statement that leads us to a question that they were asking. You'll find phrases like, I was very depressed, insecure, and had a lot of problems. Right? They welcomed me with open arms, showed me what love and appreciation is. They helped me accept myself for who and what I am without any judgment. And then you'll find that they also say they helped me find myself, and I discovered things about me that I had never known. I have deep respect for the organization. What possible questions would somebody who says this possibly have? Now, the questions would be, I uploaded this testimony into an AI model so that it works for us to come up with those questions. The questions would probably look like this. Am I enough? Can I cope? What is my purpose? What are my strengths? Am I worthy of love and care? Who am I truly? Am I accepted? And every man sitting in this room or boy can testify to have asked themselves such questions at a certain point in their lives. Now imagine you have all these questions that are unanswered in your head. You are perhaps now 27 and you just lost your job today. 2 weeks ago, you proposed to your fiancé and the wedding is in 3 months. You have unanswered questions. Will suicide not be a possible solution for you? In your head, it is. That's why Namibia then has the second highest in Southern Africa percentage of total suicides that are male. And that is 82%. And the first highest stands at 84%, so we are very close to that. And that is disturbing. That is very disturbing. And this is what it comes from, an identity crisis that is not solved by Boys Can Cry. I have explained the problem. I've spent so much time on the problem, but then this is because the solution is actually simple if everybody in this room can understand the problem so well. In fact, the solution is so simple that if everybody in this room has understood the solution, our actionables can start as soon as you leave this room. You can start acting tomorrow as part of the solution. So, I've described the problem, and I see tense faces, people in thought. But about to come is the solution, so now is your chance to smile. And also help me in giving a drum roll, so let's go. Congratulations to you. You can now actively participate in mentoring young boys and girls. Congratulations to you. You can give yourself a round of applause. In fact, if you look under your chair right now, do it as I speak. If you look under your chair, you'll find nothing. So congratulations, you can now mentor young boys and girls. What is the solution? The solution is this beautiful phrase, a mentor economy. And what does it mean? A mentor economy means that mentorship and male modeling becomes such an essential part of our communities that it's no longer strange. It means that everyone in this room can have somebody one to look up to and somebody who can look up to them. By the way, probably the beautiful women in this room are probably wondering, what's my role? Because all I've been talking about is men, right? And then, so I also delved into that. And research also proves that a female role model for a young boy is better than a toxic male role model. So as I said, congratulations once again. You can also be role models to young boys. right? Preferably if you can, though. Research also says that women work best as encouragers and connectors. Women are very good at being able to identify who can be a mentor to a young boy that they know. So that is what they are known best for, as an encourager and a connector, which I would want you to do as well. So everybody in this room now has the chance to become a mentor. Now that you're a mentor and you have a mentee, I also want to take this chance for you to think about that one young boy or that one boy who is not so young that you have in your mind who you'd want to mentor. Because I know probably most of us right now have someone. Now that you have a mentee, then what? So I gave a simple framework that allows you to be able to have an effective relationship with your mentee. I don't want anybody being confused after leaving this room. I want us to be effective. I want us to be a solution that we work on immediately. Well, the first thing is observe. Let him observe you doing the simple things that you do every day. And these simple things could be paying bills, it could be doing laundry, it could be doing the garden. The simple things, driving. Men are visual beings, and it starts from a very young age. They learn best from seeing what you're doing. So that's the very first step. Let him observe what you're doing. Secondly, engage him. Tell him why you do what you do. Tell him why you pay the bills. Tell him why you do the garden. And also allow him to ask you his most curious, could be stupid questions to some people. Allow him to ask that and answer him with patience and love. Then the most important step of these three, is the third and last one. And it says, be consistently and responsibly flawed. The biggest challenge that we have with mentors is that they want to be perfect. And this is not the space for that. Be consistently and responsibly flawed. Allow him to see your mistakes and take responsibility for them. You're driving in the street, you cut someone off. Instead of shouting at the person you cut off, let them hear you say, oops, probably I wasn't supposed to do that. I'll do better next time. Let them hear you say that. So we have observe, engage, be flawed. 3. OEF. Observe, engage, be flawed. That is how we start an effective mentor economy where we raise young boys. In fact, how about we then change the topic from Adam in 3D, Namibia's men vacuum. How about we change it to Adam in 3D, filling Namibia's men vacuum? Because that is exactly what we tend to do. We don't have to raise Adams anymore. We can change the script. Stats can just be stats. But you and me can change the script. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Tererayi Panashe Chanakira. Thank you very much for listening. This has been my TED Talk. I've always wanted to say that, by the way. This is the part you clap. Thank you.